welcome back to TikTok Tuesday. So I'm at home right now, as you can see. I'm not in my usual dorm room filming with low lighting and bad quality. I have a nice lamp on me now. So I'm at home because I have a neurologist appointment in the morning, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to talk about my life, my personal story, living with Tourette Syndrome. So as you know, I have had Tourette Syndrome since I was 5 years old, but wasn't diagnosed until I was 18. Here is the whole beginning of that story, the beginning of my life, I guess. I never knew there was something wrong with me until I was about 6 or 7 years old. I remember this exactly. I was in first grade, and we have like stations or centers, like little groups with different activities to do. And in my little group, my teacher happened to be sitting with me, and I can remember, I don't know, I think I was doing this, or jerking my neck like that, which I still do sometimes. It's evolved a little bit, but yeah, I still do that. And she looked at me and she goes, "Haley, what are you doing?" And pointed out in front of the entire classroom. She was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What?" I had no idea. I did not know what I was doing. It was normal to me. And I just was like, what? And it just really embarrassed me because she's like, "Yeah, you're like doing this." And I'm like, okay, sorry. And just completely humiliated me. I mean, you're a little kid that things like that stay with you for the rest of your life. So that's the moment, that was the moment I knew something was wrong. Something was not normal about me. And it was very uncomfortable because I couldn't help it. That was my whole thing, is I kept saying, I can't help it. But I never knew how to explain that to people. Now, my mom could tell that there was something odd about me, again, because she started noticing it before I even knew anything was there. And she told my pediatrician. I kind of have, I don't want to say I have beef with the pediatrician, but it does bother me that, I'll get to it. I'm not mad at him, but it's frustrating. So he brushed it off for 18 years. He brushed it off, and my mom kept telling him, "Hey, she's doing these jerks and these twitches and blah blah blah." And he was like, "Oh, well, sometimes kids, they go through phases and whatever." And that is true. Kids do have tics and they can grow out of them. And he told my mom, "Oh, she'll just grow out of it. Just give her some time." Years go by. She's still having these tics, she says to him. He's like, "Oh, it just takes a little bit more time. Just don't worry about it." A few more years, she's like, she still has these problems. And he goes, "All right, well, here's what you should do." This is the bad part. He goes, "Make it a game, pretty much. Try to get her to stop by imitating her, mimicking her, laughing with her, but it was really laughing at her. It was laughing at me, making fun of me. And it hurt really badly. So that's what he prescribed. So that's what they did. And I don't blame my family for doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and say that right now, because my family feels really bad about making fun of me and being like, "Oh, here's Haley." I hate thinking about it because it was so humiliating, because I couldn't stop. I was like, I can't, no one knew. It's not their fault. I didn't know. Pediatrician didn't know. It was just so embarrassing. And, of course, now we know, and, they profusely apologize all the time. And I'm like, it's really fine. I don't care anymore. But, when you're a kid, you're going through a critical development. Your entire childhood is just a big, huge time in your life is where you become who you are. It was hard. It was very hard. And gosh, I can remember being in school and just those specific times, in first grade, when my teacher was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Point out the whole classroom, and kids would just stare at me and be like, "What's wrong with you? What are you doing?" one of the worst encounters was when I was in 5th grade and my PE coach. So we had, you know how you also have stations in PE, you know, you do different physical activities. You go from one station to the next in like groups. And it wasn't just like one classroom of kids. It was like 3 different classes all in one gym period. And it was quiet, right? You know, everyone was quiet because we were all listening to the instructions. And I was sitting there quietly, but I was rolling my eyes so like as far and furrowing my eyebrows as much as I could, rolling my eyes as far back in my head. And she caught me. She saw that I was doing that. And she thought that I was rolling my eyes and having an attitude towards her. And I have an attitude now, but I didn't have an attitude. I wasn't trying to be a rebellious little, you know, jerk. I was rolling my eyes back because it was a tick and I needed to satisfy that tick. And she called me out in front of all these kids. Oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing. She called me out in front of all these kids, took me to her office and said, "That's it, come on." And like, I got up and I was just like, and it was all the way across the gymnasium. So I just walked and I was quiet. And you know, I just sat there or I just stood there in her office. I was like scared and waiting because she had to go finish her instructions to tell them what to do. And I just stood there and I got in trouble. She not berated me. I mean, I was a kid. It felt worse than it probably really was. But yeah, she said, you know, "You don't roll your eyes," or "Why are you doing that?" And I just said, "I don't know," because I couldn't tell her I can't help it, because logically, that sounds crazy to a 12-year-old or 11-year-old. I don't know how old I was, but or a 10-year-old. Like, I was just like, I can't tell her that I can't help it. I have to do this, because what kind of response was I gonna get? What do you mean you can't help it? Anyway, so yeah, those were the hard parts of having Tourette syndrome growing up. The good thing, I would say, is because of the embarrassment, because of the humiliation and the exposure, it encouraged me to learn how to suppress my tics myself. I never got any help growing up. So I had to learn for myself how to do all that. And thankfully, I can control my tics very well. They have their moments. I have my moments, depending on the emotion, whatever I'm feeling. So I don't want to say it's gotten better, because it sometimes has to get worse before it gets better. But I definitely grew from that. So once I turned 18 and we figured it out, we were like, wait a minute, Haley has Tourette syndrome. And my pediatrician was like, "Wait, does she have vocal tics?" And my mom's like, "Yeah, a lot." And he's like, just dead ghost, like he felt so bad, which is just why I'm like, I kind of feel bad, like he didn't know. It wasn't his like specialty. I guess I get that. I needed a specialist and I never got that. So now I go to a neurologist, because the help I didn't get as a child, I'm getting now as an adult. I guess why this is so personal going forth or moving forward from that is, it's hard to find someone who is educated enough to help someone who has Tourette syndrome as an adult and never had that intervention as a child. So currently my situation is, well, I'm trying to find that. Now that we know I have Tourette syndrome and we've, you know, pretty much like we figured that part out, check that off the list. Well, we were trying to figure out how to control them better and, you know, work on different medications. So I turned 19. When I turned 19, I feel like I went downhill, actually, because when I turned 19, that is when I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, or what everyone just considers anxiety, and major depressive disorder. The depression is what hit me the most, because I've always had anxiety. I remember having pretty severe anxiety when I was about like 10 years old. I always had this fear of throwing up, like this immense fear of throwing up every single day. Every single day I would pray to God, Lord, please do not let me throw up, do not let me throw up, because it was just a fear of mine. And it has continued into my adulthood, but I have worked on it and I've gotten better at it. That's a little bit, that's kind of a sidetrack. It was just I'm just telling you the progression of my brain. And so that was when I started taking medication. I never had to take medication before, so that's when I started. We went through lots of different medications to find out, well, not a lot, but different medications to work with my anxiety and depression and Tourette's. So, just going through different ones to try to figure out. It was not a fun time, because, I was really depressed. Like, it wasn't fun, and I don't like to reflect back because it's a different mindset. Moving forward from that, I started going, I think in 2015, I started going to Psychiatry South, which is in Birmingham, Alabama. And I think they're still there. I don't know if they're there anymore. But if there's anyone watching this, I'm probably going to offend you when I say this. They suck. Don't go to them. I had a horrible experience there. I was misdiagnosed with ADHD and was given medication for it that made my tics severely worse, but made me hyper-focused. Because, with ADHD medication, if you don't actually have ADHD and you take ADHD medication, you're all over the place. You're hyper-focused, but you are zooming. But it made my tics worse, so it sucked. But other than that, I had a therapist tell me, oh, well, you pretty much have to pick between this disorder or this one. So pick between ADHD or Tourette's. We can't really, take care of them both. And I was aghast. I could not believe she said that. I was just like, no way. So left there, I went through 2 therapists there and then another therapist through Wellspring, which is a Christian-based psychiatry clinic, and I have no problem with them. It just wasn't for me. I couldn't find a good fit there. So I'm still now on the hunt to find a good therapist. And tomorrow, today's Monday, tomorrow's Tuesday, or tonight is Monday, and tomorrow's Tuesday. When I go tomorrow, I'm going to be asking them to try and help me find someone who can help me, because it's not just the Tourette's anymore. It's now a lot more like my life. The Tourette's doesn't control my life. I've gotten control of that when I was a kid. I took the reins. I took the bull by the horns. Yeah, I don't remember the metaphor. I took life by the horns or the reins. I got a hold of my life. I got a hold of my Tourette's. It affects me, but not in a negative way. Like, it's just a part of who I am, and I'm okay with it. What has gotten progressively, and my mom will, tell me this too, and she'll say this. It's gotten severely worse, my OCD, and that is what I feel like I need to focus on the most right now. But because Tourette Syndrome has been a part of my life for almost my entire life, I wanted to dedicate this series to that. In upcoming videos, I am going to talk more about OCD, because there's a lot of misconceptions about it, as well as with Tourette Syndrome, which I also am going to be talking about that as well. But I think that's my story until now. Oh, except now I have embraced my Tourette Syndrome so much more. Since being diagnosed, I have become a youth ambassador, rising leader for the Tourette Association of America, and met wonderful people, amazing people, and I feel so proud to be a part of this community. I'm really glad I got all that out, so now everyone knows my deal, and hopefully, we'll keep working towards results and improvement, as we always should in any situation. So yeah, thank y'all so much, and I will see y'all next week. Bye.